Say, across me can watching a good afternoon, sir.
Ura, me just so an area.
Now, Bibia Bocordia.
About the other Roma, Bibia Boko, baby, I'm away.
Enra, minim, sir, as an economist, no, the budget discussion be say be Enra, Uti Dr. Kizla to forcing. Would he shacks remarks, young Shadi, Enra, Edema saying?
Like I said, Dedika Mamencha, ye tear for any other food na Mema will be a finishapa. Me initial remarks and I said, and na budget no, and Yema Koye, na Oshe Hawa, the Dr. Kasa Ato Forson, a year in the presentation, he touched on almost every aspect of the economy and how we synchronize the items, link from production to all the supply chain. The end product is to help improve the life of an ordinary Ghanaian. I think I am satisfied. However, there are a few areas that I would have thought that maybe one or two be, or I would have thought that there would have been changes. But I think that it reflects the situation, the sustainability, the transformation, and Ghana for expectation. And I will meet here. So, what may implement it to 8%, even what may achieve 70% here. Ababuama puntu about the abrabo.
Looking at Babia fee by in how na a catch on my Ghana. Na it got to a point. Na young conqueror for shares of Cranko Bobby Siame Didino. Na kwa YEBOAH chibidi. Now, your desktop, no can be say Oshe intervention. I call police outdoor band the Guhonomono. As at a year October this year, no. Yen cano every 726.1 billion. My main amount figure ni
Yes.
726.7 billion. That is 61.8% of our GDP. In 2024, about a year 630.2 billion, representing 45% of our GDP. Yenshanka Yeka, so far, in terms of debt management, you know, saying that Usifa Hunyama, Abana Ayade, and I say, dollar no mumu, a drop, you know, and I'm Yunusa, anyway.
Yeah, whichever way you look at it, credit must be given to the government. But the Ghana for is not just a reduction in the debt stock, but the sustainability of the gains na yenyan unnecessary YEBOAH by. It is true, say dollar no is stable the last 8 months. What are the factors that account for it? Can we continue to hold on to the same factors? Sabani timia twaso ama dollar na ho den ejina gijina go a long way to help this economy. But because the dollar relationship with the cedi has always been fluctuating, no, edu baby aya na nye den emwa. So what you for bekaya some 2 months ago dollar na kwosoro kakra. And at the last 1 month asaya den abafom. What this simply means is that should anything happen, na dollar no esa pije ni mu a ebema ye debt stock no den akosoro because of the equivalency or the exchange rate differentials no. And here 1. 2, in terms of the debt management, abana ya there so okay paragraph ni be about acquire government borrowings wafa so ayena abobosiana clearly indicate that this year abana timia boama the interest rate ya utria on the debt service na o issue TB rate no and also abafom o checking bosia wabo right from interest rate from 28.5%. As we speak now, it's hovering around average of 8 or 10% here. Clearly, the government has been very smart in its borrowing. What he's trying to say is that, again, who carry through the budget now, or say there's so much of over-concentration on the government treasury rate on the part of the financial institutions. So he's trying to discourage banks and but rather young farmer bosia na timemufoni nyesika nya adwuma na economy nye and recycle. So when you put all this together, about how we're reduce interest rate on the treasury bill for the last 8 months. Consistently, there are moments here meeting a target, but he's not in the pressure to increase the rate. So the buyer appetite for savings in the treasury bill rate in Akosona. I think it's a better management of our debt stock at this moment. So, what check it from the beginning of the year up to now? In one of the paragraphs, he stated that I think we're still close to 6 or 8 billion out of the reduced rate. What can you do? Credit and now the demand for the best way that we manage the system, no? And it's good for the economy, though investors might not be happy. But Mother Ghana is well managed within the last 8 months.
In terms of our export, OSHA figures now, we are doing better than last year. Then I counted, then the previous government 9 year about we you did that resource, no?
Definitely, what check here, there are a lot of reforms, and so that ambitious agenda the former government did see in initial one district, one factory. Sazumi say most of their export no now they are a bit materializing within their sector, but it takes some time. But in all, no, the change of government and the confidence a dear bread Ghana for any we are seeing in our no a dear hokicasun kubia den abba. You bear with me. During the last regime, there were even a conflict or misunderstanding between the government of Ghana in our neighbors with Burkina Faso and even sometimes Ivory Coast.
Yes.
In China, Burkina Faso president Eba Ghana, the way Ghana for budget and so on. Once there is that deepening relationship, Ghanaians can now have the courage to export more. So Niger, so the world's not a course on Intimania man baby or Honoma. But in all, I can tell you that there's that deep or boost of confidence on the part of the investors, and they have believed that things coming from Ghana, no, they are Nina and other factors. Because if until the doctor, specific, if you ask me that I should pinpoint specific items here, Ama export to Akosua, probably apart from the gold sector,
yes,
yet me I regularizing and yet me I regulating mean who be before but if those inflows from the export is coming from the gold or the mining sector, then the full credit must be given to them. I think that the government must be given a credit for managing those areas.
In terms of infrastructure, you say capital intensive. We are a country in Nim Yabakosem Kakra for the past 8 years or last 8 years. We nim how you manage an economy, and you nim baby a year crop. Those projects are buying Bobby say you be pumping over 30 billion into infrastructure. Sena uhono.
Yura Mahama and infrastructure project, they are synonyms like Nidin Oba and Neno Enenam. And I love the way Papano pick Ghanaian project one by one. Say within the tenure he wants to rewrite the script. Now saying, and that's what baby Akunyan who did there by between Pokwase and Sawam stretch of the road. And this week, me should be on social media, so a choir Oma Faso resolve those projects. No, he's not just talking, but he's working by the talk. My only plea and prayer is that those infrastructure projects now, the quality or value for money returns should be given to good people of this country. So what's that? Ghana, your biggest challenge at the BIA debt to GDP, Nadi and some as a young who is the fact that always our contractors give us an inferior goods. And a fiber, within 1 year in Super Vagina, not quite let to. Not just as a Saban, and that's what Coffee Kaba for the same project now, some 2-3 years ago. And see, the ambition of the president about infrastructure projects cannot be questioned, and his commitment so far is one of the best within the Fourth Republic, but the quality of work done or value for money, and a mestre say, and none the nisu adi huntino. Oma sa niema oma na ninya den. Enko na niema ye beye and last for long. Which are quite be a your man penny that when the baby called J.J. Lawrence. No. For example, Kumasi Road, the quality of work after 40 years, after the quite need to do. But what check it the current contractors area after 2 years, the quite need to do. I applaud the president and about the infrastructure. Shekwaya finance minister, LNK agriculture sector chain of command to the infrastructure road the need for who is to improve the agricultural sector. But the difference between this budget and the previous budget is that the successive government always focus on agriculture production, how to maximize the yield. But to link the yield to the commercial centers and making provision for the future in terms of storage and pimpi melake. We said this budget here about 30 billion I heard the finance minister saying that they are going to do a strategic road construction to the site here. I believe that if they are able to do that, Ghana,
About road construction, meaning sir, President Kufuor BBA Kumasi, and I say Accra to Kumasi dual carriage. Or minor born home or the GOG funding project. Ya boy home or the Yakwa Prima Pedra Junction. Sub project for about Kufuor had 8 years, Mills Mahama 8 years. That is 16 years. Then Yasabinya Kufuado, another 8 years. Oshe since 2000. And I'm finding that Kufuor cross second year term started 2004-5 one baby. Ever permanent our project in Timu now. The government of the day is telling us that expressway within 3 years from Accra to Kumasi. It is something that a bit me a bum and I say a better to the NBA Kufuor the number of years said yeah and put half crown yet to mean you know. How should we hold government for that project?
Mira, it's one area I beg to differ from the government. Ye akasa etia how aban bi hye edo mine resources ehye dwumadi bi ase a aban fofa obeba no agyae ede ato enti yehunu na wieye emfama oman no. I thought that continuation of that project were near a lot of benefit to Omai Ghana and areas here now this traffic air the abanda dana share all year bypass to the major cities on the Kumasi stretch and Quebec expanded that arrangement Quebec more I save a lot of sika than say a complete new construction of roads. 2. So to finance in the advanced countries, the focus is not about the road construction again. Last 2 months, name wa Canada. Na me hwe major roads na Toronto. Any is it Brent? I've gotten about the name. Road railway network within the metropolis now. It helps. I would have thought that since a Saban say KB or say by another road construction, or the major rapid railway transit system between Accra and Kumasi, it will yield a lot of benefit to the good of people of this country because with proper railway system within 2 hours, Obi Betima Afri Kumasi Abedu Accra, and the returns one major road. Traffic, we then at every material moment, ubenya enipa yankasi ebe run at loss. So whatever source be able to the project will be able to repay itself. And on that portion, I have a different opinion from the opinion of the president or the government. But of course, aban no wonim de esene and they have done the feasibility study. So if they will be able to do it within the 2-3 years, na ebe easy the traffic on the main Kumasi Accra road na yebabo aban na baso na ye nyina no encourage ne say they should do it by value for money. Said the be na ye no ebe last for more than 30 years. Na social media at the Burkina Faso acquire omoye no hoba. It's a very good example or lessons for Ghanaians to learn. Those study projects must come to an end. So I encourage the government to carry on.
Mekai during a champions era, near
Yes.
say Operation Feed Yourself. Etigana nibia de no shekuyayum. If you honum backyard garden kakraba na de ade, but ne you see a dan cry near Pessia Totas or baby. He share pavement blocks and so crying never been fat. Now, this year, yenya kuyafwa aye juma Emma farm produce, no. Ebi on more so yatete so ebu yenyato for a buying from next year, no. We should eat what we grow. Yen starting from the schools, no. And even say, for instance, local rice. Yen making sure say school for patronage said the one more do share a moment locally, no. Etimi enya a market, no. Sa initiative for buying day no. Who is saying as an economist?
Mira, I thought that I said, ye Guinea President Mahama and this was the ma my Ghana say ya nye careful near ya politically biased because a toda nimdia papa na dan a die any se opesi should be biased from the basics to the highest level. Ya na bro again so. A people ni me pa matna several radio stations and TV stations aka say ade ba kwa ama krom ha ensuo to 30 minutes ya na edi ensuyire aba eye nimdie moso a oman no emu nipa esua ana de sa ho kire na eden aba o ma scenario no ene obi bia wanya sikesi fie bia no no ato ties eden e wo fie ho ato ties won the compound enti ensuo to for 30 minutes ya de nyame bo se kensuo no ba bi beguo no anasase no enum bi na kakra bi aka na enkogu gatam na ni na mwankogu asuo mu nkogu pumu no enne ensuo na free suo ba nyina no ekogu gatasim. Unfortunately your planning system no asuntimi angene nkohu say this is the needs of Ghanaians and I said this is the way Ghana for behave. Therefore we must expand the gutters. And we have President Mahama what the sa chitinyan sabe chitinimdie na ye nananom de tena asema asetena mu eye boko no eba. When I listen to nkomo enkokon ketenkete na eye asema esere ba ye ne ye wo ya ye tena akurase ne ne nanamo ewo enkoko ewo akire dabu kokokoko odwan in terms of proteins acha aboso miensa na akura ye kumba kwa ma de den me gidi se eye sankofa enti se me de ho ye mfato ho a me wura me fear apart from walkway a me fa so de akowura me dem no the rest of the compound ni nyina me wo eye aduaba me wanka me wo kube think of it no a mango enti metimi a fie for so long I get basically everything that I need so me fa akwanya we so number 2 Ghana fofo se what to ties ye we kra na strategic point bi ho akotutu fa body ba akosi ho dua kube ewo ho dua anka wo ho ense wo dai no ebemo green life it will give you life that emframa wo ba ho menu because of oxygen enuyane be produce the about compound no it even prolongs your life na yenye the penchant of you be bia ya ma na ye fe compound kakraka na ya to ties nso a ni nyina aka ho na din suyire ye den eba. The president again or the government added yakwa secondary school near school farm and then in the empty sanya mani na ye twem eno nka ho na ma ekom aba second secondary institutions no enti we should go back to the basis and ketenkete no na yan sase enye ho adwuma na ye we nyina na one day bi ebeba baboya ma obi I enjoy the operation feed yourself na the man ya critical quite say Ghana ni bia just ade we tun ne say you nyina ya aware say successive government or this government born a homodin to fight galamsey ba ye nuanom ene ye maame ne abusuafo na wo titi krom keto ma ese so mo support to aban in the fight against galamsey no they are rather fighting against the government. The net effect is that aduane bia na efiri nkura ase nketwa eba ye galamsey wo no those foods are contaminated. Otu galamsey amana no to ho wi a amana no etimi develop enam tilapia and not tilapia that catfish omo chinu omo yi omo no omo dry a or the ba wunim say wa kotage me dry fish that dry fish no mercury den ewonimu but dear plantain meaning I mention them they are replanting them in the galamsey side that has been contaminated e do okwa anya side but ehunsuo bi atwe akofa afuo bi ase but ensuo ni yira e pipeline asase bebre so na akofa bodi bia ukodi a esunsun saso ni kidney problems ni bebre dey ba no so may link this health or issues environmental matters to the presidency we must be encouraged and everybody should be part of this project say yes I cultivate the culture of backyard farming na ye dwebia nyeman ketenkete ewo ye fie mu ene ye da fi ye dan chemu sietmi asa nyeman na ebeboa ya hoden ene ye mpunto kwan bebre so the president is a good call and Ghanaians must buy into them.
Advice Ben Adebema buying say within the shortest possible time such as Sabana Choco economically obi wa oya de na abasobode ne ba na trimuda set in say trimuda set in then na yesan koyechi because we know baby are free ni nim baby ya babedru ene nim baby ya call advice Ben Adebema aban ene eye omo a womo can be in terms of the economy
me futu a me de bema aban ne se ma omani tirimu nya ne de na de ye huni ye hu bi pen so watifo be kaya emra ye mampani dada John Ajikunkufo eteki Ghana akonya in the year 2001 we enjoy sai the yenyo deni ene yira mahama enjoy unyebi fast forward Professor Moss eteki na konya Ghana akonya in the year 2009 Oma ye data never catch us in the history of Ghana I think 2011 any affair under the Fourth Republic here economic growth in terms of GDP a growth is I think 14.3 and also as a result of change in government and the new policies here or the within the period. Unfortunately, Yera Mahama, the first term were in holidays because Oteki over 2013 Supreme Court case by. Fast forward and say, oh yeah, they call IMF. Emma Nanado Nunabambe take you over the governorship in the year 2017. They also enjoy the same abasobo stable economy, steady performance as at 2019. All the rating agencies here, the one we are seeing now, no, every Ghana at the performance here then equal so. The way anything any acquire Ghana for far so to aba editia MPP aban. Enti afutu amedema omone say, omo ye India for omo hu bi pen. Na yesi biaba anansi atenase ye die won to kuma nkwatenase. They should learn from the errors of the former government, especially the former finance minister. They must learn from their own mistake between 2013 to 2016. They must learn from it. Then they must maintain the momentum now. So far, almost 1 year, we've not had any scandal within the government. It is a plus. Make a budget way. Yera Kasa forcing indicated on the governance session. Say a binding bill do a parliament. Ever check a public sector. Idea we can only encourage them. Na omuma Ghana omudia tu makoma so no. Enyina honoma so mu ye ni say ya. I bet you bebedu 20 in the next election. Sabe the benefit na oman ni benya no enye NDC for nkwan na beto abade ama omu. But the good people of Ghana will vote for NDC massively. Example, and say this week and also last week, and we're going to need back the Yura Ufurian Ponsa. Now, Oye interview.
Yes.
And Obi Busano about Amamu was kind of public, wasn't necessarily Mabusia MPP for. But me share Mamua Yura Mahama Abu the last 10 years now. So, what was to say, yeah, Mababa Trabak. We are politicians, we know here, not a party fanatics for YEBOAH Basso. So I think the footway is that they should remain focused, they must be honest and sincere, they should do everything as they must improve even upon what they are doing. Ghanaians will reward them.
In a nutshell, no, over describe a budget and I say.
Okay, as I'm describing no.
Uh-huh.
I didn't like the idea say about we buy almost all the tax regime, no, or case we abolish it.
Okay.
The abolition of the e-levy, I will give reasons. I didn't support it. The abolition of the COVID tax issue also baby, and also I think that any idea I'm support to wholly. Meaning as well is that Ghana for Emma Ho Quine, Emma O or tap the free SHS concept na Ediabano. Any ababi about trust or don't have a canoba quantity. Nurses and the teacher allowances. It has overstayed its relevance by Ghana for no Yaman and Kao. Yura Mahama, Asa Kofa, first year tertiary school fees, blah blah blah, or Jiwo Mabra Mumun Trieska. Admission made the academic school fees. Anna, or the tertiary funding for persons with disability. As a Ghanaian, Nankopon Ownsla, Yaman Penny, and the Niswa Dukunu. By a say, Yankotia Dumra, and Yahabaya. Me are worried about a choir wafaso abolish all those things. So, Kai budget now. I think under at a chapter minimum about 715 under fiscal policy framework, the government mentioned about the total revenue as against the total expenditure.
Yes.
Clearly, the total expenditure of 302 under the commitment basis is higher than the expected revenue of 268 or in billions of cedis. And with such ambition, I would have thought that the e-levy and the COVID-19 levy because of saying Ghana from person of touch free SHS and can modify no committee as a source of funding to those educational projects. Anti COVID-19 and not COVID-19 bill, we are going to lay a bill something and target for the free SHS funding. We was basically Abana is still struggling to get dedicated funding. Ghana is not ready to pay more taxes out of the Umutiana. And now Obibia own track to Okana, never enjoy free SHS.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that and Quebec Jenny Eddie Alcohol said the Beya the ambitious project here or yes in any one Obetimia ye not in the long run and some friend Kotwa Huchim IMF beam. That is the only bit of the budget I'm in your home. But Busame, my personal summary of my conclusion.
Yeah, before you conclude,
Yes.
Now, I buy me at TSA in the first budget in me at TSA. Your some loopholes be or economy ni mo aye block here. You bet me sika at the abo mine hobra.
Yes.
And now in terms of corruption, the mechanics be bad. It's a national service. Enipa to a de abaya charge you me 2.2 billion a co. Now that COVID levy, Ghana and Kwana Sebi Yadia Ba, Yadia no HG and Hosika. Then we are talking about over 5 billion annually. Sika abaya sign the code of various homes, Don't you also think that ABI Abaya should find a way of tax, another way of a tuomra, but that COVID levy. I said, yeah, kaya ya obisa. Anna.
Mira, me know ya about the government decision to unplug all the loopholes where a war system no. Unfortunately, ansana or the strategies beba lock sa loopholes no. Yentimi nyina so enka asem bebree. Hence my submission. So okay, the same budget under the fiscal framework here. Last year, the government was expecting revenue of 222 billion as against expenditure of 251. Clearly, Ontimi are mentioned the but looking at how we have over the period been behaved, definitely the government will fall short of those arrangements. A beg Ghana for you say obetimi ede nhyehyɛ to hɔ a ebetwetwa saa akwan ketenkete a especially our assemblies ɛne abadwumayɛfoɔ ɛfa so ɛsɛ sika ɛwɔ maa mu yɛn nyinaa bɛbɔ n'aba so but on such a period yɛntumi ntena hɔ ɛnka sɛ nneɛma wei nya maa nti no ne bɔhyɛ no ɔnyɛ den ɔnhyɛ ɔndi so ɛsɛ so wɔyɛ ɛno ne reason a ɛma me ɛlinke the abolition of those levies to comment na me make here no. So I agree with the government that Ghana for nyina especially as a public account committee. Now we share how the resources of this country has been messed up by various district assemblies, officers here. It leaves much to be desired. Let me commend the government once again. About 2 weeks ago or a month ago, the government or specifically the president met the Chief Justice and the Attorney General not all lamenting about how public officers open assemblies now waste or my way resources, but there be near the political class in the so. Into the Attorney General should do something. Thanks for phone. Or fast track prosecution. Now court system no SMwa now adjudicate justice and was any man home. Never boy in nine. Enti so what do you it's Ghana that we want every revenue count ever go a long way to help us. But for now, I said if we ask my opinion, I will give the government more than 70-80% of how they have managed the economy and the budget no more presenting. It gives so much hope.
Senior. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yamisha. But we share to an waka and say, or say he's not in a hurry to go to the capital market and borrow. Okay, so Obiri YEBOAH and I'm in Kansas, our economist. It's the end of the budget in Munkomo. Dr. Keza to force say, or no, don't pray in a Hong Kong capital market, even though Akwanya Naba, I'll bet me